Signed, sealed, and delivered, to steal the phrase from Stevie Wonder last night. President Obama, another 4 years in the White House. I'm Dan Kleffler in New York, along with ABC News political director Amy Walter. A big night last night for President Obama.
There's no doubt about it. Listen, we're going to go and look at the map and see just what the country did last night, state by state. We talked a lot about the battleground stand in this election. We saw 8 battleground states. We said we're going to decide this election. At the end of the day, it looks like President Obama won every single one of those 8 battleground states: Virginia, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, Colorado, Nevada, New Hampshire. The only thing we're waiting on right now is Florida. We still don't have a projection there, but yet that is quite remarkable. 7 right now, 7 out of 8 of those battleground states. The popular vote also going to President Obama.
The
right
firewall.
Now, something by 2 million.
Absolutely. The firewall up last night for the Obama campaign, and this is how the popular vote has been shaking out, with 50% going to President Obama, Mitt Romney at 48%, and that's with about 97% of the precincts reporting. A night last night certainly unlike any night, and as you said, Florida right now, still too early to make a projection on the winner for the electoral. They have 29 electors up for that, but at this point, with the president at 303, a decisive victory for him. Last night, the president making his acceptance speech last night in a much different tone than what he made in 2008, but still, nonetheless, a sight to see as the president and the first family made their way to the podium, and the sound that he had was certainly of a country moving forward for the next administration.
The task of perfecting our union moves forward. It moves forward because of you. It moves forward because you reaffirmed the spirit that has triumphed over war and depression, the spirit that has lifted this country from the depths of despair to the great heights of hope, the belief that while each of us will pursue our own individual dreams, we are an American family and we rise or fall together as one nation and as one people.
And from the victory in Illinois to Massachusetts, where after 16 months of a very hard-fought campaign, Mitt Romney made this concession speech last night.
I so wish that I had been able to fulfill your hopes to lead the country in a different direction, but the nation chose another leader, and so Ann and I join with you to earnestly pray for him and for this great nation. Thank you, and God bless America. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
6 years, Dan, after he first decided that he wanted to run for President of the United States, that is his swan song right there. And the real talk of this campaign, and really when we say, well, what happened in this campaign? We talked earlier in the night, or I guess that was yesterday. It feels like this day just continues to go on. But we talked about something called our signs, things that we were looking for. And, you know, life is about following the trend.
Right.
And in this case, the trend line on demographics was a trend line that benefited the president. If you look at the signs that we were looking for last night, paying a lot of attention to the percentage of the vote that was going to be white, Latino, and African American. As you can see, the number of people who are Latino, African American, it ticked up a little bit to 23% of the electorate. More important, the percentage of the vote that is white went down 2%. That doesn't seem like that much, but what it continues, as I said, talking about a trend, is for the last 25 years, the percentage of the electorate that is made up of white voters continues to decrease. The percentage of people that are minority continues to increase. Barack Obama won 71% of the Latino vote. He won the African American vote with over 90%. There you go, 2012. Look at that, 71% Latino vote, as compared to 67% in the 2008 election. That was the story of this election. The other trend we don't have on the sign, but the other trend was the improvement in the economy, the way that people felt about the economy. The unemployment rate didn't change all that much.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is people started to feel like the economy was getting better. The number of people who said they thought the country is heading in the right direction, that number went up over the last year. The percentage of people who felt better about consumer confidence, That number went up over the last 6 months. Those were the numbers, those were the trends that determined this election.
Empathy, a real big selling point for President Obama in this election. You know, and I wanted to go back to that science just for a minute there. I mean, those numbers right now, the GOP is going to be closely looking at that, right, as it transforms itself into 2016 and, of course, the midterms in the meantime.
It absolutely does. If I were the Republican Party right now, sitting down and doing a clear-eyed assessment of where our party needs to go for the next 4 years, it is looking at that Latino number and saying, next year, absolutely, there has to be some work done on a bipartisan immigration reform. The party cannot afford to lose 71% of the fastest growing segment of this country. I think you're going to hear the name Marco Rubio a lot, the senator from Florida. I think you're going to hear the name Ted Cruz a lot, a new senator from Texas, and even Jeb Bush, who could come in and be sort of the elder statesman bringing the party along.
Who's been somewhat in the shadows for this entire campaign.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll take a look at some of the Senate races that were big deciding and some of the surprises last night. Some of the results from the Senate races, of course, right now, still a divided Congress, but Democrats still holding control of the Senate with 52 seats, Republicans holding on to 45 seats. And for the House, 185 seats for the Democrats and the Republicans holding on to the majority there. Something that the president has said that, by his own admissions, he has not necessarily changed the tone of conversation in Washington, D.C. That's certainly going to be a challenge for him, as he still is going to have that divided Congress. Yeah,
and look, we saw a $6 billion campaign to honestly not change many of the numbers in the House or the Senate. The Senate may end up exactly where it started, and the House, it looks like 4 or 5 seats changed hands. But there are a number of new faces in the House and the Senate, and I think those are very significant. I think if you look on the Democratic side, a number of women who were elected last night. Elizabeth Warren becoming the first woman ever elected to the United States Senate from Massachusetts. And then in Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, who goes in again as the first woman there. In fact, I think she was the first woman elected in her own right to Congress from Wisconsin, first openly gay member of the United States Senate. They are going to be 2 very big voices on the left. On the right, a big voice I think we're going to hear is Ted Cruz, the Tea Party winner in Texas. Young, charismatic. He's getting compared a lot to Marco Rubio. I think we're going to see him a lot on the scene, certainly on the Republican side. Those are the new rising stars. On the House side, what we're going to see is the fact that we have, for the first time, at least for Democrats, a caucus. Sorry, see, the words are just getting caught. The House Democratic Caucus, for the first time ever, will be minority white male. White men will no longer be a majority of a caucus in Congress. That is a significant development, and it goes back to that sign, those demographics. Clearly, the Democrats on the leading edge of that. Republicans have to figure out a way to play in this game. One of the major themes that's come out of campaign 2012. Also, some big ballot initiatives last night. A lot of states, a lot of people were looking to see how Colorado and Washington, as far as their initiatives on legalizing marijuana out there. Take a look at some of the referendums that went up there. Legalizing same-sex marriage in Maine, that was approved. 53% in Maryland, also upholding same-sex marriage in support of that at 52%. And in Minnesota, a defeat there, a banning on same-sex marriage at 51%. As far as Washington goes, again, upholding the same-sex marriage at 52%. So, you know, a lot of these social issues that may have gotten pushed to the wayside on the presidential level, it seems to be at the state level, did get some support. Because only 4 years ago that the issue of gay marriage was considered the deciding factor in why Ohio went for President Bush. Now here we are, 2012, 8 years later, 52% of voters. These are voters in these states. This is the first time that voters have actually approved of gay marriage, and that it didn't come through either a court or a legislature. That is a remarkable transformation in that 4-year span of time, and also going back to the demographics, in that very, very short period of time, to see such a dramatic transformation. Absolutely. And so I think those are a couple of issues that we're going to continue to see a lot about. But the next 4 years, much less about social issues. We're going to hear a lot more about the fiscal cliff, budget deficits, tax cuts, and, of course, the looming deficit, and what goes on there is going to really determine what sort of next 4 years the president's going to have.
Tax cuts and spending, or excuse me, is tax increases and spending cuts set to take place January 1st when sequestration will go into effect, and certainly something that the president has been working on to try to make that kind of bipartisan effort to get something to go through. He has said assuredly that that's not going to happen, but as you can see, at 54 days out, there's still plenty of work to be done on that.
That's right.
I want to bring in Phoebe Connolly, who's our senior editor at Yahoo News. Phoebe, big night for social media, obviously, last night.
Big night for social media. Well, let's start out with some of the search trends, just to see what Americans were searching for on Yahoo last night, to kind of try to find out. Obviously, the top search trend was definitely 2012 election results.
Right.
What's happening?
Wow.
Who's doing what? Who won the popular vote was another really big term. And people wanted to know about the propositions that went through in California. So the big thing, right, that we were all looking for was, would this break records in terms of volume on Twitter? Were people talking about it more? Unquestionably. So the previous record was held by the first presidential debate. That was 10 million tweets over those 90 minutes.
Right.
At 10 p.m. last night, we had double that number of tweets that had been sent about the election. Another sort of nice comparison, as I went back, you know, the Olympics were a huge social media event. When Usain Bolt won that 100-meter gold, the peak tweets were 80,000 tweets per minute. When Barack Obama took, you know, his victory, it was 273,000 tweets
Wow,
per minute.
That is pretty remarkable. Now, we also talk a lot about memes.
Yes.
That is our favorite thing to discuss, that every night, whether it was a debate night, whether it was a primary night, there was always a meme that seemed to come from it. So what was the election night meme?
Well, a return of our old friend Big Bird last night. A lot of people on Twitter, on Tumblr, bringing Big Bird back up, saying this was a victory for Big Bird and all of the other Sesame Street characters. But also, you know, looking forward,
yes,
a lot has been discussed. 2016, who's going to be a candidate. Hillary Clinton's been talked about a lot. Hillary Clinton was one of the big memes. That photo of her on her cell phone was resurrected last night.
I love it.
With her. And last night on Twitter, she was trending worldwide. Hillary Clinton, 2016.
And the president's tweet last night, that has now been his most retweeted tweet.
It was.
4 more years.
It was. That was the most retweeted. Within an hour of that same photo that he tweeted out being put up on Facebook, it was shared and liked 1.1 million times.
Now, were we able to get a GIF for me? Was that able to work?
Unfortunately,
Okay. But if
no
you
gifts
could
for
have the GIF that described the evening, what would it be?
I mean, part of me thought it was just people exhausted, you know, like, this has been a great election, but I think...
Who is exhausted?
The election's been great for all the coffee shops, right?
I think people are ready to GIF Connie Britton's hair on Nashville. I think they're done with Barack Obama.
And I think a lot of people are saying with that, let's move on for the rest of it, right? Phoebe, yeah. Amy, thank you guys so much. Of course, stay with ABC News and Yahoo News as we're going to now move on to inauguration, January 21st. Have a great day.